The cold glow of the phone screen cast an eerie light on my face as I sat alone in the dimly lit living room. My wife's phone, innocently resting on the coffee table, became the epicenter of my unraveling world. Suspicion had gnawed at me for days, prompting me to breach the unspoken trust that had defined our 7-year marriage. With trembling hands, I unlocked the device, my heart pounding in sync with each digit I entered. The flood of emotions intensified as I navigated through text messages, innocuous at first glance, until the reality of infidelity slapped me across the face. My wife, the woman I had built my life with, was entangled in an affair with a supposed friend. Why didn't she tell me? I muttered to myself, the room echoing my disbelief. As the gravity of the situation sunk in, I could feel the sting of betrayal taking hold. My eyes darted across the screen, consuming every word exchanged between them. The texts painted a picture of a clandestine relationship that had flourished under the guise of friendship. The world I thought I knew crumbled, and I found myself on the precipice of a painful truth. The silence was broken by a choked gasp that escaped my lips, and the room seemed to tighten around me. An anguished whisper escaped me. How could she do this to us? Unable to contain the storm of emotions raging within, I slammed the phone onto the table. My breathing became erratic, matching the turmoil in my mind. I felt a mix of rage, heartache, and a gnawing realization that the life I had known was irrevocably shattered. Just as I considered confronting her, the front door creaked open. The footsteps of my wife, unaware of the storm brewing inside, approached the living room. Panic seized me and I snatched the phone, hastily locking it, concealing the evidence of her betrayal. She entered, her eyes meeting mine with an innocent smile. "Hey, what are you up to?" I forced a smile, the weight of the revelation nearly choking me. "Just relaxing. How was your day?" Little did she know my world had crumbled in the span of a few text messages. The unspoken truth lingered in the air, setting the stage for the turbulent chapters that awaited us. The echoes of betrayal resonated in my mind as I grappled with the revelation. The haunting memories of our dating days surfaced, unraveling a history tainted by infidelity. It felt like a cruel déjà vu, as if fate had a twisted sense of humor, subjecting me to a painful repetition of the past. The scent of nostalgia lingered in the air as I revisited the timeline of our relationship. The first betrayal, a distant memory, was a jagged scar on the fabric of our love. It had happened during our dating days, a fracture in the foundation we had painstakingly rebuilt. I sat alone in our bedroom, surrounded by remnants of a life we had built together. Photographs captured moments of genuine smiles, but each image now felt like a false promise. A surge of anger mingled with heartache as I recalled the effort we had invested in healing from the first breach of trust. A knock on the bedroom door interrupted my painful reflection. Startled, I looked up to see my wife standing in the doorway, concern etched on her face. "Is everything okay?" she asked, oblivious to the tempest of emotions within me. I sighed, struggling to find the words. "No, everything is not okay. How could you do this again?" The bitterness in my voice mirrored the years of silent suffering. Her eyes widened, the innocence of her expression unraveling. "What are you talking about?" I thrust the phone toward her, the evidence of her betrayal laid bare. "This affair, these messages. How can you pretend it's not happening?" She glanced at the screen, her face contorting in a mix of guilt and panic. I didn't mean for you to find out like this." I scoffed at the feeble attempt to deflect responsibility. "So, what? You meant for me to find out eventually? How long were you planning on keeping this from me?" Tears welled up in her eyes, but I found no solace in her remorse. "We can work through this," she pleaded. "The first time I forgave you. But this?" My voice wavered with a cocktail of emotions. "You've shattered the trust we rebuilt. Again." As the weight of our shared history bore down on us, the room became a battleground for the fragments of a love that once seemed unbreakable. The scars of the past, still raw, painted a bleak picture of a relationship hanging by a thread. The specter of betrayal loomed large, and with a heavy heart I sought refuge in the sterile office of Attorney Christensen, a seasoned divorce lawyer. The hum of fluorescent lights buzzed above as I recounted the painful narrative of infidelity and broken trust. "So, Mr. Dixon, you've discovered your wife's infidelity for the second time." Attorney Christensen leaned back, fingers steepled, his expression a mix of empathy and professionalism. I nodded, my throat constricted by the weight of my confession. "Yes, and I can't go through this again. I need to end this marriage." The lawyer tapped his pen against a legal pad, thoughtful. "You've been through this before during your dating days. What makes this time different? She promised it wouldn't happen again. We built a life together, but now it's unraveling." I need to protect myself and move on, I replied, a bitter taste accompanying the words. Attorney Christensen nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. All right, let's discuss the details. Any shared assets? Children involved? No children, but we have a shared dog. I admitted, the thought of our faithful companion introducing a new layer of complexity to the impending divorce. Well, pets are considered property in the eyes of the law. We'll need to address that in the paperwork, Attorney Christensen explained, his tone matter of fact. As we delved into the legal intricacies, I couldn't escape the sobering reality that our once united life was now subject to legal dissection. The lawyer outlined the steps of the divorce process, offering guidance on the documentation needed for a smooth transition. After an hour of consultation, I left Attorney Christensen's office with a heavy folder of legal paperwork and a knot of conflicting emotions. The decision to dissolve a marriage, even one marred by betrayal, was not a task to be taken lightly. Days later, I sat across from my wife, the atmosphere tense with unspoken truths. I've consulted a lawyer, I finally admitted, the weight of the words hanging in the air. Her eyes widened, a mixture of surprise and realization crossing her face. Are you serious about this? I can't keep living like this. It's over, I declared, the finality of the decision lingering between us. As the legal gears began to turn, the emotional toll of divorce became an unavoidable reality, casting a long shadow over the life we once shared. As the divorce proceedings unfolded, I delved deeper into the twisted dynamics of my wife's affair. The layers of deception revealed a chilling truth: emotional manipulation orchestrated by the affair partner, a self-proclaimed relationship guru. One evening, I confronted my wife about the affair partner's role, the air heavy with tension. Who is this guy, and why did you let him poison our relationship? I demanded, anger simmering beneath the surface. He seemed to understand me in ways you didn't, she confessed, avoiding eye contact. He portrayed himself as someone who could guide me through our issues. Infuriated, I retorted, so you let him manipulate you into thinking I'm the problem? That I'm the reason for our troubles? She looked away, her silence confirming my suspicions. The emotional manipulation had created a rift between us, allowing an outsider to poison the foundations of our marriage. In another confrontation, I decided to address the affair partner directly. I tracked him down, determined to unveil the puppet master pulling the strings in my marriage. You think you're some relationship guru? I spat out, my anger palpable. What gives you the right to interfere in our lives? The affair partner smirked, a smug confidence emanating from him. I saw a relationship in trouble and I wanted to help. Your wife deserves better than what you offer. Infuriated by his arrogance, I shot back, you have no idea about us. Your meddling only made things worse. Stay out of our lives. As I unraveled the threads of manipulation, it became clear that the affair partner had painted a distorted image of our relationship. My wife, seeking solace and validation, had fallen victim to his poisonous influence. In an attempt to understand her perspective, I confronted my wife once more. Why did you believe him over me? I thought we were supposed to face our problems together. I implored, desperation seeping into my words. Her eyes welled with tears, regret etched on her face. I was vulnerable, and he made me feel seen. I thought he could fix us. The revelation cut deep. The wounds of emotional manipulation laid bare. The affair partner's grandiose claims of relationship expertise had left a destructive trail in its wake, pushing us to the brink of irreparable damage. As I navigated the labyrinth of emotions and deceit, the road to healing seemed like an arduous journey with no clear destination in sight. With the divorce papers in the works, I found myself engulfed in an internal struggle that seemed insurmountable. The decision to end our marriage weighed heavily on my heart, as conflicting emotions tore at the fabric of our shared history. One evening, as the reality of our impending separation loomed, my wife sat across from me, a mixture of desperation and remorse etched on her face. Can't we work through this? I'm willing to change to make things right, she pleaded, her eyes searching for a glimmer of hope. I sighed, torn between the love I once felt and the betrayal that now defined our relationship. It's not that simple. The trust is shattered, and I can't ignore the pain. Her voice trembled as she responded, I know I messed up, but people make mistakes. Can't we find a way to move past this together? The internal conflict intensified as I grappled with the desire for reconciliation and the knowledge that some wounds run too deep. The love we had shared clashed with the harsh reality of her actions, creating a tempest of emotions that threatened to drown any chance of redemption. Days turned into sleepless nights, and the weight of the decision pressed upon me relentlessly. As I walked the familiar halls of our home, memories of shared laughter and whispered promises haunted every corner. The struggle to reconcile the past with the harsh truth of the present consumed me. One day, a friend offered a perspective that struck a chord. You deserve happiness too. Don't let the fear of breaking apart what's familiar keep you from finding a future that brings you peace. The words echoed in my mind as I grappled with the internal turmoil. The fear of loneliness, heartbreak, and the unknown future clawed at my resolve. But the realization that continuing the marriage meant perpetuating a cycle of pain and distrust propelled me forward. In a moment of vulnerability, I confided in a close friend, I feel like I'm tearing myself apart. I love her, but I can't bear the thought of living in perpetual doubt. My friend, a beacon of support, responded with empathy. Sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most profound healing. You're not alone in this. As the days counted down to the confrontation, I felt the weight of inevitability settle upon me. The internal struggle, though excruciating, became a crucible for self-discovery. With divorce papers in hand and a heavy heart, I steeled myself for the difficult journey ahead, knowing that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that pave the way for a new chapter of healing and growth. With the emotional storm raging within, I sought solace in the wisdom of trusted friends. Their insights became crucial compass points in the tumultuous sea of my failing marriage, providing me with perspectives that at times felt like lifelines. Over a cup of coffee, I poured my heart out to my longtime friend, John. I just don't know what to do. The love is still there, but so is the pain. I confessed, the weight of my words heavy in the air. John leaned forward, his gaze steady. Love isn't always enough, my friend. You deserve happiness, and sometimes that means letting go of what's hurting you. His words resonated with a truth that both soothed and unnerved me. The notion of letting go felt like surrendering a piece of my soul, yet the prospect of prolonged suffering seemed even more unbearable. In a late-night conversation with Hannah, a friend who had weathered her own storms, I found empathy and understanding. The hardest part is accepting that love alone can't fix everything. You have to prioritize your well-being, she advised, her voice a comforting balm. As I sought advice, I also navigated the delicate terrain of family opinions. My sister Lillian offered a perspective forged through familial bonds. It's heartbreaking, but sometimes love is not enough. You have to prioritize your happiness and sanity, she said, her concern evident. Dinner conversations with my parents brought forth a mix of emotions. My mother, empathetic yet practical, remarked, "You deserve a life free from constant doubt. It's not selfish to prioritize your own well-being." My father, a man of few words but profound wisdom, added, "Sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most transformative growth. Trust your instincts, son." The myriad of advice left me in a state of introspection, wrestling with the conflicting currents of my heart and the pragmatic advice of those who cared for my well-being. Each conversation became a compass needle pointing towards a path of healing, nudging me closer to a resolution. As the days passed, the collective wisdom of friends and family became a guiding light in the darkest corners of my mind. The decision to end a marriage, laden with history and shared dreams, felt both agonizing and inevitable. With divorce papers now a looming reality, I carried the weight of their advice, hoping that somewhere in the tangled mess of emotions, I would find the strength to embark on a journey toward healing. Amidst the impending divorce, an additional layer of complexity surfaced. Our shared companion, a loyal dog named Jax. Jax had been a constant presence in our lives, witnessing the highs and lows of our relationship. The impending separation cast a shadow over his wagging tail and trusting eyes. In a conversation with my wife, I broached the topic delicately, aware of the emotional weight it carried. "We need to figure out what's best for Jax. He's been a part of our family," I stated, my words carefully measured. She nodded, her eyes flickering with a mix of sadness and understanding. "I love him too. It's just one more thing that makes all of this so difficult." As the reality of sharing custody of Jax loomed, we explored different possibilities. In a meeting with a mediator, my wife voiced her concerns. "I want what's best for Jax, but I can't imagine not seeing him every day. It feels like losing a piece of our family." The mediator, an impartial figure in our emotional tug-of-war, offered guidance. "Consider shared custody. Jax deserves to maintain connections with both of you. It might be challenging, but it's a solution that prioritizes his well-being." Despite the logical advice, emotions ran high. A conversation with a close friend who had experienced a similar situation provided a glimpse into the emotional toll of shared custody. "It's tough, no doubt, but knowing that your furry friend is loved and cared for, even if it's in two different homes, can ease the burden, she shared, empathy in her eyes. As the divorce papers neared completion, the decision regarding Jax became a pivotal point of negotiation. A conversation with my wife, the tension palpable, unfolded in the living room we had once shared. I want him to be happy, and that means spending time with both of us. I expressed, the weight of the decision mirrored in her eyes. She sighed, a mixture of resignation and sorrow. I just don't want him to feel abandoned. He's been our constant, you know? The negotiation became a tightrope walk between acknowledging Jax's emotional needs and navigating the intricacies of our fractured relationship. A shared promise to prioritize his well-being hung in the air, a fragile thread connecting our past to an uncertain future. As the divorce proceedings marched forward, Jax, oblivious to the complexities of human relationships, became a silent witness to the unraveling of a life he had come to know. The shared companion, once a symbol of unity, now stood at the crossroads of our fractured love story, his wagging tail a poignant reminder of the decisions that would shape our individual paths. With the divorce papers finalized and the weight of shared history hanging in the air, the moment of truth arrived. The decision to confront my wife and sever the remaining threads of our once intertwined lives loomed like a storm on the horizon. In the quiet of our shared home, I sat her down, the atmosphere heavy with the unspoken truth. We need to talk. I began, my voice a fragile whisper amidst the emotional tempest. She looked at me, a mix of anticipation and trepidation in her eyes. What's on your mind? Taking a deep breath, I unfolded the divorce papers, the stark reality of our choices now tangible. I can't continue like this. The trust is shattered, and our paths are diverging. I confessed, the words heavy with the gravity of our shared history. Her eyes flickered with a blend of sorrow and understanding. Is this really the end for us? I nodded, the pain of finality clawing at my insides. It's the only way forward. We can't keep pretending everything is okay when it's not. The room echoed with the weight of our decisions, the silence broken only by the rustling of papers and the distant hum of life outside our crumbling world. As she scanned the divorce papers, a single tear escaped, tracing a path down her cheek. I never wanted it to come to this, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Neither did I thought, as the echoes of shared laughter and whispered promises reverberated in the backdrop of our parting. In the days that followed, the logistics of separation unfolded. Dividing possessions, rearranging shared spaces, and navigating the intricacies of untangling our lives became a daunting task. A conversation about the dog, Jax, brought a moment of bittersweet unity. He deserves love and care, even if it's in separate homes, I insisted, the pain of shared custody a necessary sacrifice for Jax's well-being. She nodded, a shared understanding momentarily bridging the chasm between us. As long as he's happy, that's what matters. With every practical detail addressed, the emotional toll of the decision lingered. The finality of saying goodbye to a shared past became a haunting presence, a phantom limb that continued to ache long after the amputation. In a moment of vulnerability, she whispered, I never thought it would end like this. Neither did I admitted, the admission a shared acknowledgement of shattered dreams and unfulfilled promises. As we stood at the crossroads of a new beginning, the decision to part ways became a poignant marker in the narrative of our lives. The divorce papers, signed and sealed, carried the weight of our shared history, a testament to the love that once bloomed but ultimately withered in the face of irreparable cracks. The decision, though agonizing, marked the dawn of a journey toward healing and rediscovery, one step at a time. Thank you for listening to the story to the end, and if you like it, please support us with a like as well as subscribe to our channel. Write in the comments what you